All right, and we're live. Ian Botcher here with my friend Jay Glazer out here. We're in Manhattan in Corcoran Group on Madison Avenue. We're in the thick of everything. I'm a little more dressed up because New York. I can't have my signature V-neck. So I got to dress nicer.
Well, you know it's Casual Fridays here at Corcoran Group, so I figured I'd go with the theme.
You go a little. I'm walking around here, and everywhere I'm going, like people are three-piece suits. And
I typically rock the three-piece, but today I wanted to just go with more like the gothic black look. You know, I was just feeling it. So
awesome. So for my audience that doesn't know Jay Glazer, awesome agent here in New York City, realtor to the celebs.
Some celebs.
Some celebs. He's worked with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Sold a place for her. You've Bruce Willis bought a place with you.
Bruce Willis bought one of my properties.
Excellent. And you've also you're about close to 100 million in sales this year.
Close to 100 million in sales this year.
I got to catch up with you. We're getting there.
You know, our average transaction price is pretty high, so we get there pretty quickly.
You do know I'm in the Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
We're like the same average price point.
I'm in the Silicon Valley here in New York City.
So tell me, I know you told me a funny story. How's the Silicon Valley?
Well, you know, so since I had no idea when I was younger what silicon actually was referring to, so I assumed it was just people's way of saying silicone. So every time I'd hang out in San Francisco or an area around there, I'd say, oh, what's happening in Silicon Valley? And so up until very recently, I refused to actually say those words out loud because I was embarrassed that I was actually calling it Silicon Valley. So yeah. So
Silicon Valley, not Beverly Hills.
Silicon, got it, yeah, not Beverly Hills.
Okay, so I mean, I want to find out more about, one of the reasons I actually wanted to talk to you too and our audience is because New York City, Silicon Valley.
Lots of bi-coastal action going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I was right next to Google. Google has a new building over there. And, I mean, you're talking, how many Google employees here now? Somebody, Peter, think
that's a good question. I don't know, Peter. How many Google employees?
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot. Well, Google has its entire building on 15th and 16th Streets in 9th Avenue, and I think they just took out more space in the new some new office nearby. So I want to say there's probably at least, and this is a guess, 20,000 employees in New York City.
Okay.
And actually, like half of those are my clients. Just kidding. Only like 3.
Hey, all right. Google clients. Jay.
I do work with a lot of Google clients. I speak your language, so you know, let's work together.
Yeah, no, we can get. You know Apple here yet, right?
I'm sure we have an Apple office here, but we don't have like a real setup. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit. So what's going on in New York City? What's the market like? Is it crazy? Is it slowing down a little?
Right. So what's happening in New York City? I mean, it really depends on what segment of the market you're referring to. So New York City is what I would categorize as like 200 micro markets, right? So if we're talking, say, the Upper East Side, which we're in right now, the luxury market in the Upper East Side, most of by things I mean apartments that are west of, say, Lexington are luxury price points, and the luxury market is slowed. The reality is I met with a seller who has a 6,000 square foot apartment yesterday, and that seller, I looked them in the eyes and said, listen, the market is a slowing market. So for anything in the ultra luxury marketplace, we've seen a dramatic shift from the 2014 year where everybody was just signing on the dotted line for astronomical price per square foot. So, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, it didn't seem to matter. People were convinced the market was going to continue to appreciate. So we've seen that slow down. Having said that, I was with another seller who has a 1-bedroom in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. I know you just spent a little bit of time in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I told them, if I listed your property for X, I think we would generate multiple bids and sell it over ask. So I really think it depends on what segment. The reality is places like Brooklyn, for the majority of the area there, is still doing really, really well. Okay. And there's still pockets of Manhattan, but generally speaking, we've definitely seen a shift from the highs of 2017 or 2015 and 2014. And if for anybody who's on my Facebook Live, that's all they hear me talking about all the time is the shift in the market.
So our market, conversely, is crazy right now. We've actually gone up probably.
I'm jealous.
But it's interesting. So I would actually throw out the number 3 million, under 3 million, and it is depending on subsection, right? So we have sections of our market where if it's 1.2 million and it's worth 1.2 million, multiple offers. Crazy.
Right.
You start getting above 3 million, especially in like Los Gatos, Saratoga, Moistrano, things slow down. The buyers are pickier. They're still buying, but it's you're like, what might have sold easily a year, 1 to 2 years ago, we're kind of we're watching it, and we have to do extra things, make sure the house is really dialed in to achieve the best prices. And it's just, and some things that you think would sell are actually looking to start a little slower.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the life cycle of a sale has definitely become more protracted. Things are taking longer to sell. Even really well-priced properties. To me, the sign of a true market shift is when you have something that you know is priced well. So what is priced well? To me, pricing into the shift, right? So if you price something below where the most recent comp suggested you should price, then it means you're acknowledging the market is declining. And even if then you're not getting traction, to me that's the sign of a real market shift. And so I think that's what I'm experiencing with a lot of my business in New York City. And you're right, it's a grind on the luxury price point to really get something home. I mean, we are incentivizing people in ways we never thought of. We had a brokers open last week, and we got Shake Shack, which I know you recently tested.
I had my first Shake Shack experience.
And that's how we're incentivizing people to come to our open houses now. So we're trying to be creative and really trying to generate a marketplace for some of our properties.
So, shifting gears a little, because I know this is something you've worked with a lot of celebrities. Now, in Silicon Valley,
A few.
In Silicon Valley, celebrity to us, and it's like
Is Mark Zuckerberg.
CEOs. I mean, literally, it's like I mean, I've been holding an open house, and Elon Musk walked out before, stuff like that.
That's
I mean,
cool.
we have so people know our local celebrities, but it's not like working with that. It's a different thing.
Right, they're not actors.
They're not actors. Tell me, what's it like working with celebrities? How's the difference?
The reality is the celebrity client is not all that different than the other client. I think you pay a little bit more attention to what you're going to be doing with your marketing or with your communicating with other agents. You just pay a little bit more attention to the sensitivity there, right, to protect the privacy. Because at the end of the day, in New York City, and I'm sure where you are, everybody's super private about. Everybody's super private about their information, but they're not necessarily public. They just think they're public. Celebrities are public figures whether they want to be or not. So ultimately, when you work with a celebrity, you just really appreciate and trust their privacy and respect their privacy, and you just give them your utmost attention. But at the end of the day, we give our utmost attention to all of our clients.
Exactly.
So that's really the only big difference.
Awesome.
It's fun. It's always fun to sell celebrity property, but I try to treat my celebrity clients just like every other client, which is just give them ultimate professionalism.
I mean, that's kind of our goal on our team and with Jose, and I've worked with our team making it big that it doesn't matter if somebody's buying a $500,000 condo or selling a $5 million house. We want to treat them the same. Yeah. They should all get a 5-star experience. They should all.
Yeah, I mean, you're just paying a little bit more attention to the fact that there might be somebody in the media or paparazzi world who's just paying attention. Therefore, you have to choose your words very carefully.
Yeah, and people trying to find out private or sensitive information or whatever they can get, and you got to keep that from it. That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's really cool. So, I mean, tell me a little right now, what is the hottest spot in New York City? Where do people want to be?
The hottest spot.
Is there a hot spot? And you said slowing down a little.
There's a hot spot. Is there a hot spot? I mean, it really depends on who the buyer is. So, for example, if you're looking for a value-driven property, meaning something that's some combination of size and affordability, I would say there's pockets of, say, the Upper East Side where we are now, on the East Side, the Upper East Side, that are still trading very well. If you price tightly, you're going to generate potentially multiple bids. Having said that, there's also segments of the luxury townhouse market in Brooklyn. A friend of ours, actually a Tom Ferry friend of ours, listed a home recently. He told me that he put it on the market a little bit below market because it needed to gut renovation. He had 16 offers. Or if he's watching this, I apologize, I might have gotten that number a little low. He might have even had 18 offers.
Wow.
So for me, it really just depends on who the buyer is. Ultimately, I don't think it's necessarily where is hot, but what is hot, and what is hot is where people see value, right? As long as someone sees value in the property, it's still moving. So that could be in pretty much any segment of the market.
Okay. Do you have a prediction? Where do you see? I mean, one of the reasons that it's an important conversation I think between us is our markets we're leading markets.
Right.
I mean, I think Silicon Valley, Manhattan, what happens here it often sets a trend.
For sure.
And we see the rest of the country will start to follow suit in that trend. What do you foresee? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, so here's one of the things that I would say differentiates our markets, which hopefully, for your market's sake, I think protects your market, and I could be wrong, because we're not market forecasters, is there's a very big dichotomy right now between the equity markets, the stock market, which is continually going up in New York, and just globally, and the real estate market. So typically what happens in New York City is so many of the brokers get together and they say, bonus season will have a huge impact on who buys in February, right? So bonuses in February. I myself have a couple clients that are very much dependent upon their bonuses in order to identify what their purchase price is. Having said that, we have a stock market that's on fire and a housing market that's not. So for me to make a prediction, I would say, listen, if I see the stock market slowing down, then it's the obvious prediction is to say the real estate economy has to slow down as well.
Sure.
But right now we have things going like that, and so therefore my prediction is based off of just a continuation of what I'm seeing, which is eventually the stock market has to taper off, which will probably then ensure that the real estate market continues to remain sort of on a steady decline, probably for my guess would be for the next 1 to 3 years. Having said that, I don't think we're heading towards a recession. I don't remember the exact statistic of what's recession, 18% or something like that, like an 18% decline equates to recession. I don't think that's where we're heading, but I think for New York City, we're at stable pricing. We're not in aspirational market pricing, but at the end of the day, if someone is still making a decent return on a home they bought 5 years ago, that's still a healthy market as far as I'm concerned.
Now, New York City buyers, what are you seeing? A lot of cash? Most people getting financing? How are people buying? Because I know I've seen that can affect too. Different markets affect. What are you seeing in terms of that?
Well, the reality is almost everybody I work with ends up financing in some capacity. Now, a lot of people buy the home or the apartment in cash, but ultimately they recapture later because money's still super cheap.
Sure.
Right? The banks are essentially giving away money, and there's really no logical argument to be made other than perhaps just personal financial structural reasons why you would pay cash for property. Yeah. So even my ultra successful clients who have ample cash to close are somehow going to do some sort of refi after.
They want to make the money work for them in another
they
capacity.
Want to make,
With the stock market that's going up.
Exactly.
They
My
want
finance guys want to reinvest in finance.
Yeah.
That's the part of the business that they know best.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, but I mean, listen, you always see, regardless of the market climate, you always see cash deals. Right? New York City, like where you are, is an incredibly wealthy community. And at the end of the day, the amount of wealth that exists in New York City, even to someone who's been here my entire life, is still overwhelming. And so there's always going to be a large number of transactions that close cash. So our client, we I don't know the exact statistic, I should know, but I would say somewhere in the vicinity of 25 to 35% of our transactions, like clockwork every year, are cash transactions.
So it sounds like people the market's pulling back a little bit. It sounds like people are pulling back almost for psychological reasons, not as much. I mean, it sounds like the affordability. I mean, Silicon Valley, we're going up and up and up, but affordability is not. I mean, affordability is not a problem. I have heard of some statistics that if rates do skyrocket, especially for the average place, especially with a lot of tech employees, Google, Facebook, Apple, if the people are buying on a loan with a salary, if rates jump, 1% plus, well, somebody who's looking to buy for maybe 1.5, that might knock them down a couple notches, and that could affect pricing. But I mean, it sounds like from your standpoint, in general, a lot of these buyers, it's like they're just pulling back for other reasons.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up really great points. You would think that if interest rates started jumping, maybe that might lead to a consumer frenzy, and everybody would start buying some of these available homes. Say in the the 1 to 2 million kind of first-time home buyer range, or even sub 1 million. Having said that, I think like any market, the market is cyclical, and we reached a height in 2014, 2015, and now we're just sort of trailing down the other side of that height.
Is it pretty stable? And would you say that the market's stable? Is it
yes,
trending down, or is it just
when properties are moving? I saw a luxury property go into contract yesterday in Tribeca that was actually, I wouldn't call it a flip, but somebody bought it less than a year ago and have now made a profit on that home because it's a unique property. Sure. So at the end of the day, as they always say, in our ecosystem, if it's not compelling, it's not selling. Sure. So compelling is value and price and something that's incredibly special in the market. So the reality is when those two things dry up, when people see value and then don't pull the trigger, or when people see something special and don't buy it, then I'm going to be scared shitless. Yeah. Sorry if I offended anybody on Ian's Facebook.
For us, it's price. Oh, you can scroll. My fans are used to it. We slip an F-bomb every once in a while. No, we're good. They're big kids. They can handle it. We got in our market, it's location, mostly proximity to jobs. It's schools, and then of course pricing. But it's funny. We find everything sells. I mean, I told the story of the house that got 12 offers that smelled like dog pee a week or two ago, and yet but of course if a house is really awesome and really compelling, and it just
then it moves.
We wrote on one. I had a client. We got him in contract on a house this week, but we wrote on a house for them, and it got 35 offers. I mean, it was crazy bananas. It was a really nice house, but it was crazy bananas to have a house get 35 offers.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
it's out there. The people are still looking.
So I don't think we're necessarily like in a consistent 35 offer market. I mean, believe it or not, we were. But at the end of the day, as long as homes are still going into escrow, as they say, we say in contract here, then that means there's a healthy market. So when those things stop, when contracts signed decreases a ton, then I'll say, okay, we've really reached kind of a genuine slowdown in the market. A shift and a slowdown are very different things.
Yeah, makes sense. I got one more question because we've been going for a while, and hopefully people are finding this interesting. Comment, like, let us know. Tell us.
Please, we want your feedback.
Tell us if you like.
Do you like this sweater? You don't like the sweater? I really want to know.
I think Peter, who's awesome, would probably tell us if somebody asked a question, but I don't think we've got a question yet.
But
No question.
No
Guys,
questions.
ask some
Just
questions.
some nice comments.
All right, cool, awesome. Yeah, so kind of the last thing I said, you know, for people in Silicon Valley or vice versa, I mean, do you feel like now there's good opportunity? I mean, it sounds like
Yes.
So for us, our market's crazy. People need homes, so they're buying homes. Is there like good opportunities and any insights on what opportunities? If you guys are thinking about making a shift, you've always wanted to live in New York. We get that. We get people who've always wanted to live in New York.
Right.
Is this a good time? Is this a good time to make a
Listen,
shift?
I think we specialize. We obviously work buyers and listings and
do
sellers, but we really work with a lot of buyers, and that's kind of like where the heart of our business is. And all of my buyers right now, I'm speaking to them with a very opportunistic kind of sort of nudge to say, hey, you know, you're seeing homes that are now trading for less than they last sold, or they're just really, really great prices that, like, you know, say on the blended price per square foot average of a neighborhood, they're below that number. I mean, I really genuinely believe that my buyers in the marketplace are going to be taking advantage of opportunity. I saw some property today that dropped to a very, very low price because the broker basically made public that the owner had to be in contract by the end of the month. Who knows what that means? Maybe they're bankrupt,
Motivated seller.
maybe they're getting a divorce, who knows what it is. But the reality is the motivation is picking up, and therefore buyers are getting opportunistic, you know, deals if they're really out there hunting for them.
So you heard it right here from Jay Glazer. Silicon Valley, we've got people whose houses, some of your houses have jumped 100, 200, 300,000 in just the last several months. So if you want to make that shift to New York, we can make that happen.
We could definitely make that happen. If you see all the earnings you're going to get on the jump in your home in Silicon Valley, you're going to save on the declining market in New York City.
So 300 up on your property might really be like 600.
Correct.
Because
the delta
New York's
could be
at,
600.
yeah,
That's
the
right,
delta
yeah.
could be 600 from what it was even a year ago.
Sure, very
So
true.
that's awesome. We can definitely make that happen.
Yes, we can.
I mean, anything you want to know about us?
I feel like you dropped some good knowledge bombs on us. Well, tell me what you know. So, like, what's your profile of someone moving from New York? You know, like, where would you recommend if they wanted to live in Silicon Valley? Where would you suggest someone start looking if any of our clients were sort of making the shift, say, from the New York Google office to the Mountain View Google office?
Yeah, absolutely. So it depends on a few things. I mean, obviously, our market very much, like, pricing is almost in a radius. Now there are some exceptions. There are very nice areas a little further out that, you know, depending on the house.
Right.
But so people, like, prices are often related to location, and that's often because some people are okay with they want a larger house and they don't mind commuting. And some people, you know, one of the reasons the Mountain View market and the Sunnyvale markets have just exploded and they continue to go up. I mean, it seems like those markets have just been on an upward trend with almost no stopping because of proximity to Google. So, you know, so it's a conversation. What we always do, we sit down, we have the conversation, what's important about your house? You know, if I sit down with somebody and they're like, I'm okay with commuting because I want to pay a certain amount of money and I want 4,000 square feet.
Right.
You know, then then we're going to look at a different area. You know, we cover what I call the heart. We were having this conversation. We cover the heart of the Silicon Valley. So we kind of work the tech companies and then the surrounding areas. So pretty much if somebody's making a move out to work for a company like Apple or Google or Facebook, we can cover your area. But it's really a conversation we're going to dial in. So I would almost say it's like, one of the things we'll do is we'll consult and kind of give you some ideas, because there is diversity in the different areas, and we have areas where you know, oftentimes our schools are really important.
Right.
So we have areas with like top-rated schools. Then we have areas where like it's about the architecture, and the schools aren't as good, but we've got like classic architecture. We've got classic tutors, classic craftsmen's. You know, it's you know, do you want a row home or do you want a condo, or you know, you have different types of things that people are looking for.
Do you want a shoebox or an extra large shoebox?
Yeah,
That's what we're getting in New York City.
We have them too. We call them cardboard boxes.
Gotcha.
Do you want a small cardboard box? You want a really large cardboard box? Because we do get 4 walls on most of our properties.
Yeah, we sometimes get 4 walls if we're lucky.
You get stacked shoe boxes.
Yeah, stacked shoe boxes.
Or side by side.
Exactly.
Well, awesome. This has been cool. It's a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. And thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you next week on our updates. So chime in.